Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable podcast, where we sit down with some of the most successful real estate agents, brokers, and team leaders to learn about their journeys in this industry. I'm your host, Art Bettuzzi, and as a seasoned real estate agent of 29 years, I'm always fascinated by the stories of how others found success in this business. On this podcast, we'll be talking to our guests about the obstacles they overcame, the lessons they learned, and the tips and strategies they're using in today's ever-changing market. Whether you're a real estate agent, broker, team leader, investor, or just someone interested in real estate, you're in the right place. Our guests come from a variety of backgrounds, and they all have unique insights to share. We want to have fun with these interviews, but we also want to make sure that you come away with actionable tips that you can implement in your own business. New episodes will be released weekly, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining us on the Real Estate Roundtable podcast. Let's get started. When I was deciding to do a podcast, I got a piece of advice, and the advice was talk to the audience like you're talking to an old friend. Well, I can tell you here for my pilot episode that I'm very lucky because I am going to be talking to an old friend. My guest today is Mike Nielsen. Mike and I go back many, many decades. We went to college together at Drake University, and we have remained friends ever since. So we've been in and out of each other's lives during the past 40 plus years. And Mike, after college, had a very distinguished career in the military. He was in the Army, and he did that for 20 years in active duty. And he retired as a major in the Army. And then he decided to get into real estate. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Mike Nielsen from Remax Realty Suburban. Mike, why don't you say hi?
Hello, everyone.
So Mike, let's go back to college for a second. Wouldn't it be great if we could do that?
It would be.
We graduated college, and what did you do after that? Why don't you just tell us a brief synopsis?
Real quick, we graduated 1984, long ago. I went on active duty 1985 and spent 20 years in the military, traveling the world and seeing life, how other people live it. I was an infantry officer to begin with, and then mid-career I became a logistician, a quartermaster officer, and I was able to serve in logistics units around the world, received my master's in logistics management from Florida Tech, and ended up in my last assignment was at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, which is just northwest of Kansas City, and that is where I retired in 2005. After I retired, I was 43, and so had to find what I wanted to do next. A lot of people retire from the military and they go back sometimes as a civilian contractor working with the military. And I did not want to do that. I had spent 20 years serving our great nation. I wanted to do something else, I defended capitalism. I want to go play in it. And and I'm blessed in the sense that my wife, Martha, was a hospital pharmacist. And everywhere I was stationed, she was able to have a job, and she was working here. And so when I retired, I was looking at different options, and our children were still, middle school at the time. And so my daughter was very active in gymnastics in Kansas City. And so I was looking for a job that had flexibility, that I could be the dad driving to the classes and things like that at night or during the day, in the summertime during the day. And growing up, my father was a carpenter, home builder. So I was very comfortable with homes and walking through construction sites. And so real estate just sort of fit that cog. I saw local brokerage had a nightly meeting, or what does it take to become a real estate agent? So I went and sat in and listened, and I said, well, this sounds interesting and exciting. Let me try that. And that started the ball going. And now I've been a real estate broker now for over 18 years.
Wow. I mean, in your career, have you seen a lot of people, whether it's coming from the military or from other different jobs, decide to make the change into real estate?
Yeah, yes, I have. They also say teachers, policemen, and firefighters make great realtors because the way they understand time blocking, and they are focused and task oriented, and those careers make real estate a great second career for them.
So let's go back to your early years. So if I'm right, you got in, if it's 18 years, you got in right around 2005.
That's correct.
So the market at that time was pretty hot, right?
Right. Yeah. The market was going very well. Interest rates were 6 and 7%, and so that's a normal market. And so that's what I started out with. But if you look at the past 45 years, the average interest rate over those 45 years is about 8%. There were homes selling at 18% in the 1980s. So,
right.
So where we're at right now with rates back up to 5, 6, I'm used to that. There was a study that came out from NAR that said over 80% of all the realtors in the business today had never worked in an over 4% market.
Yeah.
And so, you got to not watch the media that much, but the sky's not falling. This is a normal market. Prices have gone up because supply materials have gone up, but interest rates, people have to own a home, and you're going to, if you're going to buy a house, the rate's the rate. They say, find the house you want. They say, you marry the house, but just date the rate. That's the catchphrase going around, because, you find the house you want, you get it. And in 2 years, if the rates fall down, you can refinance. So, those are just options. But yeah, in the mid 2000s, 2005 is when I started, and, business was good. And I had a good learning base. My broker I was with at the time, very good trainer.
Excellent. What I found is that, we went through like a 10-year stretch or 11-year stretch where rates were being artificially held down, right? A segment of the population that, was like, yeah, rates are always at 2 and 3 and low 4s. And this is the way it is. And I, like you, had seen rates be, at one point I was selling stuff at 9%. Right? As we were in 1999, 2000, you were in the 9s, and nobody, I don't want to say nobody's blinking at it, but nobody was all that shocked by it. But like you said, that's a much normal market for where rates should be. It's, I think a lot of the people over the past 10 or 12 years have been spoiled by these lower rates. And so when the rates started to creep up, it started freaking people out like, oh my God. And the math of it is what it is. Meaning people are like, well, I'm going to spend more money for my property every month. Well, yeah, you are. I mean, there's no doubting the math of it. You may not be able to buy the level of house that you want for the same payment. Mm-hmm. However, during the past couple of years where we saw the run up on prices, because there was low inventory and there was high demand, we saw prices jump up. And some of that was artificially high as well, right? It wasn't what the true market was. Did that happen in your market?
Yeah, we had that happen. A new starter home, you're not going to get one under 300, which, when in 2005, I remember the new subdivisions being built, get your house at 185, and now they're 3+ for a starter home. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you said it though, when you said, the cost of materials
Yeah.
have gone up. That's why when people say to me, should I buy a new home or should I buy an existing home? I say, well, what, you got to look at the difference. The existing home was built with the dollars of the value of the dollars in the year it was built. The new home is being built with today's dollars, which we would both agree you're getting less for your money today.
Right, exactly. And this was sort of a perfect storm in the sense over the last 3 years with COVID and the mills shutting down, so lumber was not being produced as much. A year before that, in Texas, they had the big freeze where a lot of the chemical companies that make the poly and things like that, those factories had issues, and so there's a shortage there. And just the pent up demand that there's still a large demand for homes, and all those things roll together, and that's what really caused the pricing to go.
Yeah, yeah. And I do think too, though, that some of the sellers got overly greedy.
Oh, agreed.
And I mean, and certainly I heard this during that. Well, what do I need a real estate broker for? All I have to do is put a for sale sign and I'm going to get 10 offers on my house. Did you hear that there as well?
I heard that. We've heard that.
And so, the fact is that when you start talking to those people, they don't realize what a real estate broker brings to the table in addition to just putting the sign out front. And certainly during the COVID years, we certainly had a certain amount of people that felt that was the case. But in a normal market where your house isn't selling in 4 hours or 4 days, the value of a broker is astronomical compared to somebody trying to sell it themselves, right?
Right, exactly. And you got someone working in your corner. I mean, would you go to court without a lawyer and just let the other guy's lawyer handle everything? I mean, but yeah, you're exactly right.
That's a great analogy, the lawyer thing. I think that there are some people that don't view real estate as a professional thing. I've heard people say, "Oh, you people are just like a step above car salesmen," and it's like, okay, not to diminish car salesmen, but I think that we as professionals have to know all the different areas of the deal to be able to effectively, help our client, right?
Exactly.
So let's go back for a second to when you started mid 2000s. What kind of production did you have in your first year? Do you remember?
First year, I think I had like 5 or 7 deals.
Okay.
And in disclosure, my goal every year is between 28 and 40 deals. I do 22 or more, I'm happy. Bills are paid, vacations are taken, everything like that, because I'm drawn to retirement. So, but 22 to 28 is my minimum goal. And I normally hit that every year.
Got it. So for that first year, 5 to 7, and then how did it grow year after year?
Things that I recommend people do, marketing is the most expensive cost, or could be the most critical cost to your business as far as getting known. For 20 years, I moved 13 times. So I didn't have a home base. I wasn't able through that lifetime to do a lot of the organizational stuff I do now. But I always tell an agent, find some things that you enjoy, whether they're volunteering, like local Kiwanis or the chamber or things like that. Get involved, meet people, and don't do it because I'm going to get business from it. Find some areas of your life that you enjoy and support, and doing that, business comes. I mean, just doing what you enjoy and letting people know that you're an agent.
So it's really just consistency
Exactly.
in terms of that. Let's talk about how did you weather 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. What did you do to stay in the business during those 5 years, which, as we all know, the market turned?
Right. Well, education, in the military was important. Education in real estate is even more important. There are some people, they'll get their license and they just do their CEs every 2 years or whatever the requirement is, and they don't look for extra methodologies to find training information. I put training important in my career. I'm a certified residential specialist. I have my ABR, my GRI, ePro, military real. I could go down. And all those things help you become more knowledgeable and more proficient. I was a certified distressed property expert. I took that training, and that helped me with my clients that needed short sales or things like that. I was skilled and ready to do that. I don't do this anymore, but what I did in mid-career is, a lot of my clients in this area were military, and they would buy a home, and Leavenworth is a short-term school. They're here a year or two, and then they leave. Well, they got to the point that, they couldn't sell their home right away because the values have fallen. I became a rental manager for my past clients. We don't do that anymore, but there was a time I was managing 30 rentals. And they were newer homes. I had sold them, so I understood them. And so it was lucrative in that sense. It brought in income. And then when it was time for them to sell, guess who they used to sell? Their property manager, because I helped them buy the house. So
yeah. So again, those long-term relationships sort of held you in good stead during that time.
Exactly.
And you pivoted too a little, didn't you? Because obviously those people couldn't sell their houses for the value, they were underwater. So by getting them a rental, that was a pivot in your business a little bit.
Right.
Well, and again, that just shows how sort of thinking out of the box will help you in this career, right?
Exactly.
When you consider that our industry has anywhere from a 70 to 80% turnover each year,
right?
That speaks to the fact that people get into this industry without understanding what it takes to be here for the long term. So I think the stat is 70 to 80% are out in 1 year and 90% are out in 5 years.
Yeah, I've read that also. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, people don't understand coming in that this is a business. It's not a job, right? But it's a business. So how did your logistics training teach you what you needed to do to be successful in this business?
You got to have a business plan, even if it's small. I mean, you have to be able to track what you're spending and things like that, because you're right. It's very easy to get a license, but you get your license, and in a normal market, normal world, you may be working 30, 60, 90 days before you have any income coming in. And during that 30, 60, 90 days, you got a lot of income going out, fees, costs, marketing, MLS, all that stuff. And so you got to be aware of that. And then when I have income coming in, I always broke my income into 4 parts. Always put X amount away for taxes, X amount away for business marketing, X amount away for profit/salary, and then X amount for rainy days. I often had slow January, February, March. And so there's been many years where I have no income coming in January, February, and March. But I have put my reserves in there so I can continue to pay my bills and marketing.
So it's definitely seasonal. Absolutely the idea of you having money set aside for the times when it might be a little bit lean is a great mindset. And again, I think it's one of the things that most people get in real estate don't even think about.
The other thing they don't think about, at least the young ones I talk about, is setting money aside for taxes.
Yeah.
They get their commission check and they spend it on their necessities and their needs and then more marketing, and they're not putting that X amount aside. So at the end of the year, where do I come up with this money for taxes? Well,
Right. And here's the thing, I'm going to tell you that it's not young. It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with them coming out of a job mindset.
right.
Right. I mean, I've seen people of every age do that. Right. They're like, well, the company always took the taxes out. So then all at the end of the year, they're like, oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things that brokerages don't do very well.
Right.
Because I have students that have gone to every brokerage under the sun. I think they don't do a great job impressing that on their agents, their new agents, early enough in their career.
I'll tell you another thing, if I can interrupt,
Sure.
is, after my second year or something like that, we talked to an accountant, and, we incorporated. So Nielsen Inc. receives all the commissions. Well, I don't touch that. It sort of goes there, and I pay myself a salary from Nielsen Inc. And when you do that, guess what? You can take money from that and put it into retirement funds. So I have a SEP. After you get established within the first or second year, you need to talk to an accountant because you should be putting money away for retirement.
And I think that more and more, well, number one, the suggestion of having your corporation is, I think, a great suggestion. Obviously, Mike and I are not, professionals when it comes to taxes and all that stuff. But what we can say is that the professionals that have counseled us have counseled us to do that. So I would suggest everybody talk to their accountant sooner than later. So you made it through the down years, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then, and I know your wife, I've known her almost as long as I've known you, because you were college sweethearts. She was a pharmacist, right?
She is.
She is. Sorry, not was, is. What now? She hasn't retired from pharmacy. She still does pharmacy.
She semi-retired in 2013 when the corporation went through some changes, but they brought her back as a PRN.
But so since in 2013, is that when Martha decided to become a real estate broker and join?
Yes. Because she always assisted me, behind the scenes, with some the accounting portions and things like that. And when we did rental management, but that's when we bought our brokerage. So she got her license, and she does a few deals a year, but we do a lot of work together. And
you
so
co-list a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it works. It works well.
And then not too long ago, maybe in my mind, your
Mm-hmm.
son Michael
Yep.
decided to join the
He
family
did.
team.
Michael went to KU and had a degree in French and marketing. And he graduated in 2011 when there weren't a lot of jobs available. So the first job he took in Shawnee, he stayed there until 2020, and it was in the logistics field. I had him get his real estate license in college. And so he was in my quote referral company. I had a referral company set aside just in case, one of his friends at that age were going to buy or sell. He could refer them to an agent and he could generate some income. But in 2020, he came to us and said, I've saved up enough with work for my expenses for 6 months. I want to see if I can make this work. So we brought him on our team. And that's when we merged our office with an office in Shawnee Mission, and which is really close to where he lives. I wanted to be with an office close for him that he can go in case there's issues, things like that.
And now you're out of your home office because you're combined, and they're in Shawnee. Which, how far is Shawnee from you?
It's about 20 miles.
Oh, so not that far.
No. I go in the office when I have city clients, or I go in once or twice a month for meetings or things like that. But again, most of the real estate business is meeting people face to face, and I meet them where they need me to meet them at.
Got it. And it's interesting that you say that, because I get a lot of students coming into my classes that will say, well, I can just do this whole business on my computer. And I say, well, you can do some business
Yeah.
on a computer, but at some point you're going to have to be belly to belly, right?
Right. Yeah. Like Lee Brown says, real estate is a nose to nose, toes to toes, and belly to belly business. You got to be with people.
Right. And you've got to be comfortable
Right.
working with people in that instance. And I think one of the skills that we may have lost over the past 5 years is the ability for people to have a conversation.
I think you're correct there. Yes.
It just seems to me that a lot of people who are comfortable with the whole texting thing have a hard time being able to have a conversation. And a lot of this business is having conversations, isn't it?
Right. And I'll tell you, when I had my broker hat on, or even with my son team member, sometimes, he's telling me why I'm doing this. I said, well, that should be a phone call, not a text. And so, yeah, there are some times that a phone call is important to actually talk instead of the texting world.
Yeah. I mean, I realize that there are some folks that are more comfortable with the texting.
Right.
And I would say of a certain age, that's the thing. And if you're in that age, great. If you're not there, and again, think about somebody coming into this business now. There's 30 or 40 years above them. So let's say somebody comes in at 21 or 22. I mean, there's 30 to 40 years above them that if they want to do some real business, they're going to have to mine that
Right.
group of people.
Exactly.
And so they need to meet those people where they are, not where you are.
Yeah, that's one of my questions when I meet a first client. How do you prefer to be communicated with? Phone, text, or email? What's your preference? And I mark that down, make a mental note, and I try to do that.
Yeah. And I think that is reasonable. And by the way, everybody, Mike is a great follow on social media, and I will put his social media accounts, his Facebook and his Instagram, in the notes. So if you want to follow him, you can do that. He's a great follow, because I think, Mike, you do an amazing job being out there in the world in terms of how you show yourself. Okay. In terms of real estate, number one, you're always out in your community and you're doing things in your community. And what I like about what you do is you incorporate the people in your community.
I would say I try to be as involved in my community as I can. I primarily focus on the local chamber and the local Kiwanis Club. In the past, I've been involved and was the vice president of our educational foundation and with the Salvation Army. And it just got to the point I had to, for many years, I wasn't able to do this kind of work while I was in the military. So I always like to be involved. And then I got to the point where it's hard for me to say no. So if someone needs some help, I was always there, but I got very busy with all four of those organizations, so I had to whittle them down. I still support the other two, but I'm primarily involved in the local Kiwanis and the chamber. And so when we have those functions, I try to raise awareness and involvement in those organizations. And I just find social media is a quick and easy way to do it. Whether we're having a food drive the third Saturday of the month at Dillon's, or whether we have our monthly chamber copy, click a couple pictures, let folks know what's going on, and more of a informational thing. I want everyone to be informed so they can't say, well, I didn't know that was going on. I could have helped.
Well, and I think that's a secret, if you ask me. I see too many real estate brokers on their social media pitching only their properties, which, that's an element of the business. I get that. But if I want to go to a certain feed and all I want to do is see pictures of the properties you have listed, I'm going to skip through that feed pretty quickly, right? I
Mhm.
think that your secret sauce, if I can call it that, is that you mix it up a lot in terms of you have chamber stuff, you have this. Hey, I'm out here doing this. I'm at you were at a home inspection the other day.
Mhm.
You know, you do a lot of those kinds of things. And also, I got to tell you, do a good job about giving tips to people. Hey, it's coming up. I remember one you did not that long ago before winter started. Now's the time to take in your hose.
Unhook your hoses. That's right.
That's
Yep.
right. I enjoy those because it's something that the average person who's not in real estate is going to appreciate. Have you found that to be the case?
I did. I do. I get a lot of comments on things like that.
So I just think that you've done a great job building a network of people and you speak to them using your social media. Is that a fair statement?
I would say that's fair. Yeah.
Your two primary ones, Facebook, Insta, is that it?
That's primarily. I mean, I've got a Twitter, but I don't do much on Twitter. So basically Facebook, really.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
mix a lot of my on my I've got a real estate business Facebook page that goes on there, but I mix some real estate, of course, on my personal page. And so you can see, when we take a little trip or go diving or something like that. And I've just shown myself sitting on the beach writing a contract. I mean, you can do real estate from anywhere.
Yes, you can. And again, I got to tell you, I'm envious of your schedule. Mike and Martha have it's not a trailer home. What do you call it?
It's a trailer, a bumper pull trailer.
Oh, all right. So that's how you go to all these places and you
Yep.
stay here in your own trailer.
Yeah, it's nice to sleep in your own bed,
And while you're out there, you're meeting new people from all over the place, right?
right?
And does that ever come back and get you business?
It hasn't lately, but we always try when we meet folks at a RV site or something like that, and let them know what we do. And we always trade cards and things like that in case our paths cross again. And I let people know that, and like any agent, really, you can help people anywhere in the US. I mean, with referrals, that's the nice thing about being an agent is you got the ability to earn referrals, and that's important.
Again, through your travels, you certainly seem to be doing a great job in your business and life balance.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm very blessed.
Well, you work for it, dude, though. Let's be honest. You worked your ass off for 20 years.
But just in what's the word I'm looking for, in disclosure, everything you see on Facebook is the shiny side,
Yeah.
and life is not always perfect, and not life is not always fun, but it's a journey. And it's enjoyable to be able to put that information out and share with my friends and family and other folks who may find it interesting.
Hey there, Real Estate Roundtable podcast listeners. I want to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. If you're looking to get your real estate license or fulfilling your continuing education requirements, I Love Real Estate School's got you covered. As an Illinois licensed school, they offer the state-required broker pre-license course, managing broker pre-license courses, post-licensing courses, and continuing education. And the best part, you can take the courses either through their live stream with a live instructor or online home study. So no matter where you are, you can get the education you need to take your real estate career to the next level. I Love Real Estate School is committed to helping you succeed in the industry. That's why they offer comprehensive, high-quality education at an affordable price. So, if you're ready to start your real estate journey or stay up to date with your continuing education, head on over to iloverealestateschool.com today to learn more. So, how has social media changed the game for you?
I think it's changed the sense as far as low cost advertising. I have not advertised in a paper for a long time, but yeah, social media, yeah, has really come starting about 2009 or so. So the first 4 or 5 years was predominantly newspapers, things like that. And that's the thing about real estate. When you start, one of the best ways some people make money in real estate is selling shiny objects to realtors.
So define shiny object, because people might not understand what you mean by that. I
Oh,
do, but
a new camera or the different flavor of a certain website or marketing promo or a booklet or things like that that comes out. You have to see what's the return on that. Does it really help your business? Yeah, it'd be neat to say, yeah, I'm in this book, but if it's not helping my business, why put the money in that? But again, that's when, as you're starting, you really need to talk to a broker or a mentor. Find a mentor who's can give you some guidance in your first couple of years. Highly recommended it, whether it's in your office or a friend somewhere else that's in the business.
yeah, I think that's a great suggestion, especially since, everybody's got something,
Exactly.
right?
I will say that the most important thing you spend money on, other than your internal business, is a CRM. You definitely need to have a customer relationship management of some type.
So the CRM allows you to keep in touch and to organize
Mhm.
your clients or your customer base,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I use mine to track, I put as much information on people as possible. My counter pops, it tells me that their birthday's coming up or their anniversary or their home sale anniversary. If I want to send a monthly or quarterly newsletter, I just select the people I want, hit a button, all the labels print out, that kind of stuff. And it tracks when you sell or you send them and things like that. It's just a way to stay organized in your business.
Well, so that leads me into this, because I know that both of us, you a little bit more than me, are huge fans of Brian Buffini.
Yes.
And a lot of what you're talking about is the consistency that he, promotes, right?
Right. Mhm.
Being consistent. So how have you incorporated his trainings into what you do?
Well, a lot of it I do follow. Brian pushes calls, notes, and pop buys, and I incorporate that into my business as far as calling my clients. I try to call them once a quarter and see how things are going, and still handwritten notes. You see something on Facebook about someone's child or grandchild or something like that, write a quick note and send it. They will open a handwritten note. They will take the time to open that, and it's just another touch. And then I do quarterly or seasonal pop buys. I travel and visit folks, see how they're doing. And I just did a mail out pop by for St. Patrick's Day. I sent a St. Patrick's Day card and had a little trinket inside, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on that.
Well, don't you also do is a pie
I
thing?
do. In November, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I call it my reverse pop by. And what it is I have, when I had my office in town, I would be there, but I use the local community center. And the month prior, I send emails, invites out to my past and current clients and vendors I work with, and offer them the opportunity to come by and get a apple, cherry, or pumpkin pie. And so I normally give out between 70 and 100 every year. And it's a chance for me to actually face to face see my clients again, because honestly, you may go a year without seeing someone. You see them on Facebook or things like that, but it's a chance for them to come in, say hi, give them, happy Thanksgiving, give them a calendar for next year, and just another way to stay top of mind awareness.
And again, the cost on something like that is minuscule.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, you're not doing it, hey, stop by so I could talk business with you.
Right. Exactly.
but you do
yeah.
it to stay top of mind.
Because a warm lead, a warm referral is much easier to work than a cold lead that comes over the computer. If one of your past clients tells someone about you, you've already got that first step of authenticity, authority there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you would give out 70 to 100 pies means those are people that once again had another interaction with you, a positive interaction
Right.
with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a beautiful timing, by the way, because as they're at Thanksgiving and Christmas with their friends and family, and they hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm thinking about buying a house, I'm thinking about selling a house," or whatever, they go, "Oh, you got to talk to my guy, Mike Nielsen."
Exactly.
And I think that not enough realtors understand the concept of being top of mind.
Right.
I'm sure, what percentage of your business would you say is referral based?
I would say probably 65 to 70%.
Wow. That's amazing. That's great. And then what are you doing to get the other percentage? Let's talk about your lead gen methods.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to get that?
I utilize, the brokerage I'm with, our website that we have with them does a good job in bringing in leads and being able to comb through those and take the next step. I used to buy some leads, and they didn't pan out. And so I don't buy any leads. I do have a relationship with a national lender that they send referrals out, and if you can get them, then you pay at close. If you're going to buy leads, I would recommend there's probably about 20 companies where you don't have to pay monthly, you just pay at close. And those were the ones I would recommend starting out. That way, there's no cost up front.
That's a great suggestion, because I'm telling you, that's one of the questions I get all the time is, should I buy leads? And I say, well, first of all, you're new. So you shouldn't buy anything at the moment.
Right.
Because you really need to talk to your sphere of influence.
Yep.
That is most likely where you're going to get the majority of your deals.
And then as a new agent, often, you're right. You got to talk to your friends, family, sphere of influence, but then you partner with someone in your office, hold as many open houses as possible. People, busy agents have a lot of listings. They're looking for people to get out there and experiment and practice. You don't want to necessarily practice on your clients, but you got to be out there. So you hold those houses open. And that's another way to meet people. And you're meeting people who are looking.
Right. And may not be represented by another broker.
Exactly.
And then that's the opportunity. So when you say practice, what you're doing is you're practicing on those people in terms of trying to get them to be your client.
Correct.
So you're practicing scripts, you're practicing, your methodology.
I mean, in your own brokerage or with a friend, you should do some of that script practice and role play practice. Let them give some thoughts, things like that, and you combat and come back and forth. Sort of like, a little debate class.
Right. Objections.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how you hone that skill set.
And so who better to practice on than people that you don't know that are walking in the door, and you may get them to be a client, you may not, but it's still practice, right?
Mm-hmm. When I first started, my broker manager said, set a goal to give 5 or 10 business cards out every day, Monday through Friday, and that's sort of a practice thing where you're at the gas tank, you start a conversation, oh, by the way, I'm in real estate. If you don't have to ask them if they're selling, but who do you know that you think would be buying or selling this year? Please share my name.
Right. Well, that's one of the things I get, Mike, is that people will say to me, I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to be bugging my family and friends and that kind of thing. And I said, that's the wrong mindset. Who do you know who's looking to buy, sell, lease, rent, or invest in real estate who I can help.
Who I can help or who I can serve.
There you go.
Exactly. Yep.
That's it, right?
Yep. I've got a license and I can help anyone buy, sell, rent, or invest. Who do you know that I can help?
Right.
Mhm.
When you ask, who do you know? If they themselves are in the market or about to be in the market, it gives them the opportunity to raise their hand
Exactly.
without going on the defensive. But if they're not in the market, then it gives them the opportunity to help you help their friends and family get into real estate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that that's a great way to approach it, and certainly one of the things that I like to teach my students, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you give a new person coming into real estate today?
I would give them the advice that understand that it's easy to get your license, but generating the income is a 30, 60, 90 day down the way. Make sure you have a plan or a budget or some reserves set up to cover that so you don't feel you're going to feel pressure of no income coming in. You're going to. But if you have a methodology to help that for 30, 60, 90 days, that would be good. And be flexible. Flexibility is very important in this business. It's a negotiation business, and come into the business that when you have a client, you want it to be a win-win. It's not us against them. Your client wants to buy a house. The other agent's client wants to sell their house. Let's get somewhere where we can make all parties happy. It can't be a we versus they. And just being flexible, with people's decisions, their situations. If someone goes under contract and then has an inspection and the house falls out because of legitimate inspection issues, don't wear that on your sleeve. It happens. And don't count or plan on any commission dollars until the check is cashed.
You said something earlier that I want to circle back to. You mentioned time blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you share the importance of that from your perspective?
Often I go in or come down to my home office and I set time like from 9 to 11 is when I'm going to reach out and talk to some past clients, write some note cards, things like that. I call that's my version of lead generation. You want to focus on that certain period of time, and it's easier if you block it on your calendar and this is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do, and then save the afternoons for any appointments that may come up or things like that. Someone calls you, I'd like to meet. Well, I've got appointments for the morning, but I'm free in the afternoon. And that's just a very minimal type of a blocking system. If you have children and they've got events, say at 3:30 to 5, you block those. Someone calls you, I've got an appointment that time. Your appointments with your child or your family member, things like that. And I'll tell you, if you're in this business long enough after your first year people want your time all the time. It's okay to say no, as long as you are doing what's right for you and your family. Because at the end of the day, you go home to your family. Right. And so you want to keep those relationships, that boat sailing as smooth as possible.
Yeah. Real estate agents, they just don't get, they go, I should be available 24/7. If you make yourself available 24/7, people are going to use you 24/7
Exactly.
and they're going to abuse your time.
Right.
Be respectful, but be respectful to yourself as well. And the value of time blocking allows you to legitimately say to somebody, I have an appointment. I've had real estate brokers say to me, oh yeah, I'm available anytime. Just, call me.
Yeah.
Do they sound very busy?
No, they don't. Yeah.
Right? They don't sound busy. But if you say, you know what, I got to check my schedule. I know I've got this appointment from 9 to 11. And sometimes if you don't have a choice, you kind of eat into your time block. Like you got an early inspection.
Right.
You say, you know what, I have an appointment, but let's see if I can move it around for it. Yep.
Exactly. And it's
Now,
a case by case
yeah,
situation, but it gives you a baseline to start from to defend yourself.
right. But it also gives you the ability that, Mike, I really appreciate you adjusting your schedule to be able to help me out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what you're effectively doing, is you're adjusting your schedule. And some people have said to me, well, what if I don't have an appointment? Do what Mike's saying. Block out some time for yourself to lead gen. That is an appointment.
Exactly.
I have found people will work around your schedule as long as you give them alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
When you say, I've got an appointment in the morning, but I'm available from 1 to 2:30. All right, I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's put that in, right? What would you say are common misconceptions that people have about real estate?
I would say some of the most common is that it's easy. It can be easy to get your license, but then once you get your license, the learning and the situational aspects of it, not always easy. Having different relationships with different types of people, you have to be the chameleon to change. I'm talking to this client here and they're very extroverted. And then you talk to someone over here and they're an engineer and you have to pull information out of them. You have to be flexible. The other misconception is as a whole, or the cause of this is that we make millions and millions of dollars. Not necessarily true.
No.
But the perception is that we're overpaid. And, you look at it, the amount of hours that go into a transaction, the risk you're at, your E&O risk and things like that. And then whatever split you're on with your broker, X% of a sale, you don't get it all.
I think that's a real thing. And I have certainly sat down with clients and have them say 6%, which is what I charge to list a home. And then I show them how that breaks up.
Exactly.
I'm going to give 2.5, maybe 3 to the other side. I've got to pay this and this and this. And so by the time you're done, realistically, it may sound like you're paying a lot of money, but ultimately I'm not getting all of that.
Right. Exactly.
And people need to understand that, and you need to demonstrate that to
Right.
them. And they're like, oh, all right, I guess I didn't understand. What's funny is most people think they know what there is to know about real estate, but the majority, 95%, don't. And I say to them, look, you're an expert in whatever you do. I'm an expert in this.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stay up to date on the latest trends or developments in the real estate industry?
I spend a lot of time browsing the web, and there are a lot of good real estate Facebook pages out there where you can join, and it's a community. People from all over the US, all over the world post their issues, and you get to see different perspectives. And so I have found the social media aspect of providing information a good start.
Do you still do seminars? Do you still go to seminars?
I do. A lot of times online, Zoom seminars and things like that also seem to be a less cost alternative. But there's nothing wrong with getting out there and going and meeting other people.
What other tools do you use or do you swear by other than your CRM?
Basically, Facebook and the local events really is how I generate most of my business.
How do you stay motivated when things go wrong?
For me, again, it's a little different as a retiree in the business because I've got a baseline, but I focus on my why. Why am I in this business? I enjoy serving and helping people, and I enjoy the benefits that you can get as a realtor as far as earning an income, taking the trips that I enjoy to take.
So you don't stress out over it.
No,
if a deal falls apart.
I'm here to get my client what they need, not what I need.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that perspective is what, not yours, but the perspective of the public is that we're doing this because we're putting money in our pocket.
Right.
And that's the only reason we're here, and on and on and on. And, the fact is that none of us would do this or very few of us would do this if there was no money in it, because we do have to feed our family.
Right.
We do have to have a certain level of income to be able to have a lifestyle that we want to provide for our family.
Right.
I have found that when you put the client's interests first, that the money comes.
It does.
It's hard when you're new to believe that.
Right.
Right. But considering the time you've been in the business, the time I've been in the business, the fact of the matter is it really is something that is true. If you just focus on helping, what Zig Ziglar used to say, if you help enough people get what they want,
you'll get exactly.
You'll get what you want.
And Brian Buffini says, if you give it out in slices, it will come back in loaves.
You go.
Exactly. It will.
And, so much of this business is mindset, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell our listeners, our group?
Technology has helped so much in our business. I started 2005, which really isn't that far away, technology wise, but I was one of the first people in our area in about 2006-07 to do electronic contracts, because, in 2005 is all still by hand. And, we have now developed into the electronic signatures. I've done entire transactions with people. I see people in person, but everything's electronic, using the dot loops or the DocuSigns and things like that. It's a great way to show, interact with people, especially at a distance. Normally I sell 1 or 2 homes every couple years, sight unseen, to clients that are like in Europe or Korea or Japan or something like that. During COVID, we sold 5 homes sight unseen to clients, anywhere from $175,000 to $1 million.
Really?
And using technology, you either use FaceTime, or if they got the Android, use Google Duo. And you won't believe how many homes I walked through on Google Duo, given the tour and things like that. And it all worked out. Use the technology to put you a step ahead of your counterparts, or provide that level of service to your clients that they need.
I always say, let the technology do the heavy lifting today.
Yes.
Because between your CRM that you talked about earlier and keeping in touch with people, and like you just said, walking people through homes, and more people, based on COVID, have the ability to let us do that and be comfortable enough.
Well, like what we're doing right now with Zoom. Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because when I started, it was before the technology.
Right.
In fact, the MLS in Chicago was a book that they delivered every 2 weeks. And so you would flip through the book, you'd find a property, you'd make a copy, and then you'd go out with your clients based on that.
Right.
So to come from that, where we weren't even using computers, I remember computers sort of came in 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some brokers that were older than I was at that point. It's like, we're not going to use a computer. We're going to be fine. And literally within 2 or 3 years, they were out of the business because of that. So I look at my career and see the effect technology has had, and certainly has made the barrier to entry in real estate much lower than it used to be.
In our area, Leavenworth is the oldest town in Kansas. And I had one deal where I sold a house that was built in 1868. And we went through the title work and found the abstract. We found the documents where the land was signed for from the Indian tribe so it is interesting. We work with, so I work with homes that are over 100 years old to new construction throughout the KC metro area. And it's quite a journey. It really is.
Well, that's fantastic. It is. It's fun too, right?
It is. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it.
Like some people say to me, how can it be fun? Trust me, when you're involved in somebody's life and you can help them get their first home or their next home. How does that feel, Mike?
It feels great.
We get to be involved in this part of their lives that will forever change them.
Exactly.
And that's part of it. People say you do this for the money. You know, like I said earlier, we probably wouldn't do it if there wasn't money attached to it. But I think ultimately, as we move along, it starts to fill up the other buckets
Right.
that we have, right?
The positive experience bucket. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, my friend. I
Thank
greatly
you, Art.
appreciate this.
And hope all goes well. And we'll.
Thanks again to our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our amazing guest and you picked up some valuable tips and insights that you can use in your own real estate business. If you liked what you heard today, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you more great content in the future. And if you're an agent who's interested in coaching, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me directly through my website, myrealestatesalesmanager.com, or connect with me on social media. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you the next time in the Real Estate Roundtable podcast.